Hello and welcome back to a Kooky corner of YouTube, where today we are going to be combining things. The things we're going to be combining are neurographic art, slow stitching and doodling. So stay tuned for a little bit of magic. Okay, so this piece I made, you might have seen it on my Instagram a week ago or a week and a bit ago, and now I've just gotten around to filming the whole process for you. So basically we have got a piece of painted calico which has then been neurographically decorated, but then further decorated with pattern, so drawn on pattern, and fabric and stitching. So there's quite a lot of things involved in this piece, and it's really lovely just to spend some time and expand on an idea. It's something I had in my head for a while, and to try and get all the things that I enjoy doing into one piece. And so let's go through what we're going to need. Okay, so gathered together the things I will be requiring. The first thing is a piece of calico. This is just ordinary calico fabric. I've just vaguely put it into the square. It's not a square shape, it's more of a rectangle that I want to be making something from. So this is the initial piece, and it's not been washed, it's just been as is. So the next thing you're going to need is some way to colour your piece. Now you can do it in many different ways. You could use Inktense pencils, Inktense blocks, just some way to get some colour onto your fabric. So you can do it with whatever you have. You can even use acrylic paint. So if you've got some of the acrylic paints, the fluid acrylic paints, or even acrylic ink, that would work as well. You can mix it with the GAC 900 or some kind of fabric medium if you wish to. If you don't worry about it, because it's not something that you're probably going to wash unless you're doing it on a piece of clothing. So experiment, try whatever you have. Alcohol ink pens work a treat also on this, you can use those. I have in fact also used in my pieces some of these Daler-Rowney, because I love the fluorescence. So I did try that in some pieces and it's working fine. So obviously use what you have. So a decent pair of scissors, sharpish scissors, so you can cut out the fabrics that you're going to need. You'll also need some way of marking your neurographic lines. If you've got a fabric marker, that's fine. I use this Pilot Laundry Tech pen and also the Identi pen. I use the Identi pen because it's also got a thicker end to it if I wanted to get some thicker lines, but just going over it a few times with that would work. So if you've got one of those or both of those or neither of those and you've got something else that you can use, try a Posca pen. Maybe a fine Posca pen will give you the line that you're wanting. So that's something else that you can try and see what works for you. As I said, I'm using the Dye-na-flow for mine. So these are the Dye-na-flow inks by Jacquard, and I also stuck a little bit of Lumiere in there as well. So I've got a few of those, and as I said, the FW acrylic inks. When you've got your background, you're going to need to iron it, to heat set it or not. It's up to you. Again, it's not going to be washed. Well, my piece isn't going to be washed, so I'm not going to worry too much about heat setting, but if you need to, you can heat set, and the Jacquard will be heat set perfectly on your page. Okay, the other things you're going to need. Scraps of fabric. I've got a whole little baggie full of scrap fabrics here that I'm going to use for mine. And you will also need a needle and some threads of your choice. So there is my needle that's hiding under there. And any threads that you need to match in with whatever fabric. So it really does depend on what you are going to be using as to what threads you're going to use. So first things first, we dye our fabric. Run VT. So here I am spraying down my calico just to give it a little bit of dampness in order to add in my paints. I don't want it soaking wet, I just want it to be damp enough to take the paint so that it will spread around a little. I'll go back in again with the spray as I add in the inks, the Dye-na-flow inks, and this will cause them to meld together and give me the result I'm looking for. And so when the piece has been dried and then ironed and heat set, I'm now going in with my laundry tack pen. This has been speeded up, so I will be going a lot slower than this so that I can add in all those neurographic lines and details. I've added in a couple of circles as well, so that we've got a lot to play with. And then I am going to be going in to round off all those points where the lines join and create some kind of a harsh join, and I would just want to soften all that down with those rounded edges. So you can see me just going in. I will go in all of these, quite relaxing just to do this as well. So putting on a little bit of music and just going ahead and spending some time finding those places and rounding them off. piece is going to be split up into kind of 3 different areas that I'm going to fill in those spaces with. So one of them is going to be a doodle, which I'm doing now. So I'm filling in some of the areas with doodle elements, and some of the areas are going to be left as they are to show the colour through, and some of them are going to be stitched into. The other thing I'm going to do is to pick out certain parts of my design and fill it with fabric, which is what I will be showing you next. So for the fabric portions of my neurographic piece, I have put my piece of work up against, on my light box. You could do it up against a window, but on my light box I did this and traced out the areas where I actually want to have some kind of a fabric applique inset into this piece. I don't do too many because you don't want to be covering the whole of the piece with it, but just certain areas I think will benefit from it. So what I'm doing is tracing out those places, and I'm then going to use that as a pattern to cut out my fabrics. Now that I've got my pattern, I am going to cut out the pieces. What you can see I've done is I've labelled them with a number, and I've also taken a photograph of my piece on my phone so that I can figure out where each piece goes. I think it's fairly obvious. It's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, but it is nice just to be sure if you have got some similar pieces or similar shapes. So that's what I did with that, and now I'm cutting out those pieces of paper. Not all together. What I'm just going to leave is kind of a bit around them, and then I'm going to pin them to my fabrics that I'm going to be using, which I'll show you in a minute. And then I'm going to cut around the whole thing in order to get the piece that fits perfectly into that space. So once I have my piece cut out and it's ready to be appliqued on, I'm using some fabric glue, temporary glue, just to stick it into place. This makes it easier because next I'm going to go around each of the pieces and I will then stitch them, oversew them into place on my piece of fabric. The rest of it is down to decoration and stitching, and that's where you come in and you can put your own slant on what you need to do into your piece. I did simple running stitches. Here is my piece of finished neurographic doodle, or neurographic stitch doodle. I don't know what to call it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been absolutely a blast just to sit, and I've been had a podcast on and just listening to things and stitching away happily for the whole afternoon, which is something, you know, that everybody can enjoy. Yeah, even if you've got some younger children, they can have a go with you with this as well. So it's something that you can do together, but I just find it a joy. And I know people are going to say, well, what are you going to do with that? Now, what are you going to do with it? Well, there's many things I could do with it. I could frame it. I could actually have it in a frame and it's a piece of artwork. But what I might do is then stitch into it with some other fabrics to make myself a sketchbook cover. So that's kind of what's on my mind at the moment. Also with this first piece that I did, I'm thinking maybe, you know, that can be incorporated somehow. They're vaguely about the same size. This one's obviously bigger because I've not trimmed it down. This one, I also used some felt for the backing when I was stitching into it as well. It just makes it easier to handle, but if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You could put your fabric into a hoop or however, just loose stitching. Loose stitching, not loose women, loose stitching. So you could do it that way. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed having a little look at this, and I'd love to see what you do. So if you have a go, don't forget to tag me in Instagram if you can post it in Instagram. Also, if you pop along to my Facebook page, then you could possibly show me that way. You could send it me on my page somehow. I need to figure out a way of doing this, but yeah. But Instagram probably, and tag me, or if you're in the Discord channel, again, that's an easy way for you to share it with me. You could stick it in the craft or the art, probably craft, maybe the craft room, and show me exactly what you did as well. I'd be really pleased to see. That's enough from me. Don't forget, if you're enjoying the content, to like and subscribe. Show me those thumbs. Now, I say this and people say, okay, what difference does it make? Well, to be honest, it makes a lot of difference to the channel if people actually take the time to do the like and subscribe. It costs you nothing. There is no cost involved to liking and subscribing. The only time you'll get any kind of a cost is if you have a membership of a channel that you're watching. If you're a member of the channel, then they'll probably ask for a cost for that. But to like and subscribe will cost you nothing, nada, not a penny. So it really does make a big difference. Thank you everybody for watching. I will be back here soon, very soon, with something else. Bye for now.